Have you ever had someone look at you and say, "You look so much younger than your age"? Maybe you laughed it off, thinking it must be because of your diet, your workouts, or some clever skincare routine. But sometimes, what they're really seeing has nothing to do with your body. It comes from a much deeper layer, the spiritual energy you radiate. Carl Jung once suggested that the human face is a map of the soul. Whatever you carry within will eventually etch itself into the lines and expressions on the outside. That's why youthfulness isn't just the result of genetics or cosmetics. It reflects how you live, how you love, and how you protect your spirit from being eroded by time. Perhaps it's the lingering light of innocence that still shines through. Perhaps it's the quiet faith you carry with every step you take. Or maybe it's simply the sign that you're living closer to your authentic self, the part of you untouched by numbers and calendars. This video will guide you through 8 spiritual reasons why you may appear younger than your actual age. And if you stay until the end, you'll see that this youthfulness is not a random stroke of luck. It is proof of how your soul has chosen to live every single day. One of the first reasons people look at you and say you seem younger than your actual age comes from something that sounds like a paradox. You are an old soul. An old soul doesn't mean heavy, dark, or weary. Quite the opposite. Because it has traveled through many experiences, many lifetimes, it has learned how to let go of what others are still desperately clinging to. And when the inner world carries less anxiety and fewer burdens, the outer world naturally reflects a clearer, lighter glow. You can see this play out in everyday life. Some people are young in years, yet their faces already look aged from tension and ambition that never rests. Meanwhile, there are people well past the halfway point of life whose eyes are still kind, whose voices remain steady, and whose faces seem to resist the wear of time. The difference isn't in the number of birthdays, it's in the state of the soul. Jung once wrote, "True aging begins the moment we lose connection with the soul." An old soul, precisely because it has endured, knows how to preserve that connection, and that is what keeps them youthful. Think back to your own heartbreaks, the losses, the failures, the times you thought you would never recover. A young soul may carry those wounds like a lifelong burden, allowing them to etch themselves onto the face. But an old soul learns how to heal, how to look at events through the lens of compassion. And when the heart has been soothed, the eyes soften too. That serenity is what others see, and they mistake it for youth. Here lies the paradox. It is experience itself that makes you young. Not young because you've never suffered, but young because suffering no longer rules you. Those with old souls are not easily shaken by trivial matters. They know what is worth their energy and what isn't. And because of that, their energy is lighter, their face brighter, their smile more natural. So when someone compliments you on your youthful aura, remember this. What they're really sensing is the wisdom of a soul that has traveled far. Outer age is just a shell. True youthfulness springs from the ability to release, to live in peace, and to carry the kind of calm only an old soul can bring. Another reason you may appear younger than your actual age comes from your ability to connect with the subtle layers of energy around you. We often think that we live on food, water, and sleep. However, the truth is that you also absorb energy from the people, places, and situations you encounter every day. And those who can listen deeply, who are sensitive to this flow, usually learn to select what nourishes them instead of letting themselves be drained. Have you ever walked into a room and instantly felt the heaviness in the air, even when no one spoke? Or, on the contrary, have you sat under a tree, listening to the rustle of leaves, and noticed your body naturally relax? That is the reality of energy. Those who connect with this subtle dimension often know when to step back from a space that is too chaotic, when to return to nature, or simply when to sit quietly to cleanse the mind. These unconscious choices, repeated over time, contribute to maintaining a fresh and radiant appearance. Jung once said, "What we deny will return as fate." If you ignore negative energy, it doesn't disappear. It lingers, accumulates, and eventually etches itself onto the body. But when you know how to listen, when you allow your soul to release what is too heavy, those energies have no place to cling. What remains is clarity, and that clarity reflects outward through your eyes, your skin, and even the tone of your voice. People often use the image of water to describe this ability. When water flows through a muddy place, it still finds its way back to clarity, never stopping long enough to stay polluted. Humans who are attuned to subtle energy live in the same way. They do not allow chaos to stick, but let it pass through. And this very fluidity makes them lighter, so that others looking at them often think they are younger than their years. Perhaps youthfulness is not really about wrinkles or gray hair, but about how you protect the purity of the energy you carry. And when someone tells you that you look younger than your age, they may actually be unconsciously sensing exactly this. Another reason people look at you and wonder why you appear younger than your years lies in something rarely understood: deep empathy. Those with strong empathic capacity are often mistaken as weak because they feel too much, sometimes to the point of exhaustion. But if you look more closely, you'll notice that this very sensitivity is one of the hidden secrets behind their youthful aura. Because an empathic heart never allows emotions to be suppressed for too long. When they're sad, they cry. When they're joyful, they laugh. When they see another's pain, they don't stand at a distance. They let their own heart touch that pain. And this honesty with emotion prevents blockages from forming in the psyche. You already know this. Stress is the fastest way to age a face. Someone who lets emotions flow through instead of bottling them up naturally preserves a certain clarity and freshness on the outside. Think back to people you've met. Some are young, yet their faces look hardened, their eyes heavy, as if already tired of life. They don't allow themselves to express, and the repression shows in every line of their face. By contrast, there are people well into later years whose smile remains childlike, whose eyes still sparkle. They don't hide their heart, and that refusal to mask it is precisely why they never seem to age. Jung once remarked, "What you deny within will turn into a shadow around you." The empath is different. They do not deny. They open their heart, ready to feel, ready to ache, ready to love. And when the heart no longer wears a mask, the body no longer needs to brace itself in defense. Energy circulates freely, and the face reflects a youthfulness no cosmetic product could ever create. Yet, deep empathy carries its own risk. Without boundaries, an empath can absorb so much pain from others that they forget where their own ends and another's begin. In that state, sensitivity becomes a burden, draining vitality and accelerating age. But when an empath learns to set limits, empathy transforms into a gift. It keeps the heart tender, yet protects the inner reservoir of energy. Perhaps this is why so many empaths are described as having unusually bright eyes. Eyes that seem to see past your surface, straight into your depth, without judgment. They only say one thing: "I understand." And that gaze, have you noticed, is what makes them look timeless. Because that gaze doesn't belong to the body. It belongs to the soul. And if you stay with this journey until the end, you'll uncover something even deeper. Your youthfulness is not merely a personal gift. It is a sign that you carry a larger spiritual mission, a reason for being that not everyone is given. There is a kind of youthfulness that has nothing to do with the lines on your face, but everything to do with the calm that radiates from within. You've probably met people who, despite the passing of many years, still have eyes that shine and smiles that remain gentle. They don't try to look young, yet youth seems to appear in them naturally. Their secret often comes down to two things: wisdom and inner calm. Wisdom here is not simply knowledge collected from books. It is the kind of wisdom born after you've stumbled enough, lost enough, and endured enough to finally recognize what truly matters. Those who carry this wisdom don't flare up over trivial matters, nor do they crumble when life changes direction. Instead of reacting violently, they pause, observe, and then smile. And that smile, unburdened by anxiety, softens the face, as if time itself slows down upon them. Jung once wrote, "True aging begins when a person loses their soul. A soul that remains intact, still connected to its authentic essence, does not easily grow old, because calmness functions like an invisible armor, protecting you from the marks that stress and fear would otherwise leave behind." You can imagine this calm like the surface of a still lake. Winds may sweep across, leaves may fall, yet when the waters are steady enough, they continue to reflect the light. The human body works in the same way. A restless mind etches tension into wrinkles, while a settled mind leaves behind a smoothness, a quiet radiance. The fascinating thing is that calmness is not innate. It is cultivated, often through suffering. The further someone travels through life, the more they learn to release what doesn't matter, and the lighter they become. And it is this lightness that keeps them youthful. So if you've ever been told you look younger than your age, it may not be because of your genetics or your lifestyle. It may be because others are sensing the peace within you. Not because you've never suffered, but because you've learned how not to let suffering rule you. And that maturity, paradoxically, is the very thing that keeps you young. If wisdom and inner calm help you keep a serene face, then kindness and compassion make your eyes brighter and your smile warmer. And it is this very quality that makes others perceive you as younger than your actual age. Those who carry anger for too long often show it on their faces. Their expressions grow rigid, their eyes darken. Resentment works like a hidden poison, slowly eroding the spirit and carving its marks into the body. In contrast, those who practice forgiveness, who choose compassion over bitterness, radiate differently. They do not carry every scratch of the past into the present. They refuse to let old wounds weigh down their steps. This lightness of being becomes their energy, and that energy reflects outward as a kind of youthfulness. Think of the people you've met who always greet you with a genuine smile. They may no longer be in their physical youth, but that smile lights up their face and warms the space around them. That is the power of kindness. It not only transforms the one who receives it, but it nourishes the one who gives. Jung once said, "What is not loved becomes shadow." When you live with compassion, you do not allow the shadow to accumulate within you. Each time you open your heart, you release the trapped energy inside. And when that energy is freed, it flows like a fresh current, keeping the body supple and the spirit luminous. The fascinating thing about kindness is that it never runs dry. The more you give, the more you discover within yourself. Perhaps this is because, at the deepest level, compassion reconnects you with the most innocent part of your being, the child who once believed in the purity of life. And it is this return to innocence that carries the secret of why you seem untouched by age. There is a secret very few people realize. Youthfulness does not come from resisting time, but from learning how to move with it. And the quality that allows you to do that is adaptability. Those who know how to adapt carry with them a certain softness, a strange lightness that makes them appear younger than their actual age. Picture this with a simple image. A dry branch will snap when the wind blows hard, but a bamboo stem bends and sways with the wind. Human beings are the same. When you are too rigid, life only needs a small disruption to wear you down. But when you adapt, you allow life to blow through you without breaking you. This flexibility lightens the spirit, and that lightness inevitably reflects on the face. Adaptability does not mean abandoning your values. It simply means you know how to keep walking, even when the old road has collapsed. Flexible people don't dwell on, "Why did this happen to me?" They usually ask, "What can I do now?" That question changes everything, because it shifts you from the passive to the active position. And once the mind shifts, the body loosens too. Jung once said, "What you resist not only persists, it grows stronger." The more you resist the flow of life, the more the tension etches itself into wrinkles, into the heaviness of your body. But when you adapt, the current carries you forward without destroying you. This truth is not only psychological but physical, because most of the lines of exhaustion on the body are marks left behind by holding on too tightly for too long. Think back to a difficult phase in your own life. Maybe you lost a relationship, a job, or a plan you once thought was everything. If you fought against it, you remember the weight it pressed on your shoulders, the way your whole body seemed heavy. But if later you accepted change, found another path, you also remember how relieved you felt, like a sudden burst of lightness, almost as if you had become younger in that moment. The fascinating thing is that people who adapt often keep a childlike curiosity in their eyes. They are not afraid to try again, not hesitant to start over, and that very spirit preserves a freshness in them. When you dare to change, you prevent your soul from hardening into stone. So real youth does not lie in clinging to the past, but in being able to step with the present. When you allow life to carry you to new shores instead of fighting to stay where you were, you discover a simple truth. Age is only a number, but the vitality within you is the true measure of how young you are. Another secret that keeps you looking younger than your age is the spirit of optimism. Optimism does not mean you are always cheerful or that you have never faced hardship. On the contrary, many people only truly become optimistic after surviving seasons they thought would break them, because it is through the darkness that they learn the sun will always rise again. You can see this in people who have lived many years yet still carry a clear, bright gaze. When they speak about the future, their eyes still sparkle, their smile remains gentle, as if a piece of youth has never left them. Optimism allows them to hold on to a softness in the soul, and that softness is reflected directly in their appearance. Pessimism, on the other hand, carves its mark into the face. Every fear, every doubt, becomes like an invisible engraving that ages a person far too quickly. But the optimistic live differently. When challenges appear, they quietly ask, "What is this here to teach me?" That small question opens a new path, and that openness keeps them youthful, regardless of how many years pass. Perhaps optimism is nothing more than a silent vow you make with life itself. You choose to trust it, and in return, it chooses to preserve your light. There is a reason why some people never seem to age the way others do. They carry within them the energy of the chosen. This is not arrogance, nor is it some mystical title. It is simply the deep sense that you were born to live for something larger than yourself. Those who carry this energy radiate a particular vitality. Even as the years pass, their light remains untouched. Because they do not merely exist, they live with purpose. And it is precisely this sense of mission that keeps their energy fresh as if time itself cannot lay a hand on them. You've likely met someone like this. They walk into a room, and without doing anything, the atmosphere shifts. A certain aliveness flows from them, making you want to listen, making you want to move closer. Some call it an aura, but in truth, it is simply the natural result of living in alignment with their essence and their calling. Jung once suggested that a person remains truly young only when they live connected to the deeper meaning of their life. When you know why you are here, the fear of time no longer haunts you. And that fear, one of the greatest forces that accelerates aging, gradually dissolves. The chosen are not always those who perform grand, heroic deeds. Sometimes it is simply the energy of someone who knows how to love rightly, who knows how to create peace for others. But when you carry that energy, you become a beacon, and it is that very light that keeps you younger than your years. Perhaps youthfulness is not just a personal blessing. It is proof that you are living a life of meaning, carrying within you a spiritual mission that others also need to witness. And when you live in that truth, you touch a source of life that never runs dry. So when someone tells you that you look younger than your age, remember that what they see is not just a face, but a soul moving in rhythm with itself. That youthfulness does not come from clinging, but from the way you let go, the way you love, the way you choose to move with the current, instead of resisting it. Age, after all, is only a number. True aging begins the moment we lose our connection to the soul, and true youth is born when we still carry that light within us, in a smile, in the spark of the eyes, in every peaceful breath. You may not have all the answers for yourself yet, but that is not the point, because youth, at its deepest level, is not a destination, but a sign that you are still walking the path of returning to your true self. And perhaps, the next time you look into the mirror, you will realize this. What keeps you from growing old is not a miracle, but the simple truth that you are still alive and living with your whole heart.